I'm going to do something a little different here today. As you know, we got started farming a farm where they're wanting to put organic crops in, so we are kind of seeing what works best to transition in the transition years to get that over to organic and still control weeds and make a profit. So part of that, we're going to have 20 some acres of alfalfa. Needed something to get over the ground a little quicker. Going to square bale some of it, but we needed something in case of rain showers. Looks like it's coming up or something. So we bought a round baler, 4x5 bales, just twine tie. It's an automatic tie, which would be nice. The guy who we got it from I can't remember if he said he didn't know if it had automatic tie. He always used manual tie because sometimes the gate sensor and it didn't work, and it didn't know when the bale. It didn't either know when the gate got shut, to restart the cycle, or not. He just kind of used the thing. He didn't. I think he greased it, and that's about all he ever did to it. Didn't really do much preventative maintenance or anything because it needed some work. He'd baled some road ditches and whatnot, and it was just needing a little TLC. He'd upgraded to a newer baler, and so we bought this one. 1475 is a model. Pickup was, I spent most of the time working on the pickup. That needed most of the work. We've done a couple other littler things. About one of the last things I got to do to it here, and I was going to make a video on. Got to relace. This is the only belt. All the rest of them have been relaced to these alligator things. I was talking to Gehl. Go check him out. He is using these alligator lacing deals, and was happy with them, and they look like they're by far the sturdiest ones out there on the market. And so I bought the tool to do it from Shoop, and a couple packs of the lacings. And this belt here is the only one looks like it's got this old style. I don't know what. They were kind of tearing out, and I don't know what you call these things, but they were tearing out. Part of the pin's still stuck in there. But I took the slack off the belt here, and I'm going to pull it out a little bit, see if I can lay it on the ground without taking it completely out of the baler, and relace it. Ideally, I'd like, you'd probably want to take all 6 belts out and cut them all to length if you were doing them all at once, but for the time being, we're just going to do it right here in the baler because, like I say, we haven't even ever used the thing. It's not going to get used a bunch compared to what a lot of guys. I mean, if we do a couple hundred bales a year, I'd be impressed if we do that much. But so yeah, I'll show you what we got here as far as lacing. Alligator rivets, and then this tool. So I got to read through the instructions here and figure out what to do. All right, now I think I'm understanding this right. They send these little dudes, these things here along, and if the belt is loose in here, you about need to replace the belt. It's too thin. If it's too thick, I don't know what you do. Get a different rivet, I guess. But anyway, it's loose here, but it's still a little tight here, so I think we're still all right. So we don't need to replace the belt yet. They sell them. I think they just had 2 sets, 7 or 14 inch, or 7 and 10 inch, I guess, were the widths you could get. And our belts are originally a 6 inch, and they're worn down to 5 3/4 or something like that. So I got to cut 2 of these things off because they want you to have it a 1/4 inch inside the belt. And if I set it to roughly a 1/4 inch, I mean, it's pretty obvious you'd cut 2 of them off, because if you had just cut 1 off, it'd be right to the edge of the belt. But if you can cut 2, I'd get about a 1/4 inch inside. And then they got a procedure in there for squaring this all up so that it runs true and pulls even and stuff, which I'll do. But anyway, I'm going to cut 2 of them off, and then I'll show you when I come back driving the rivets in here what I'm going to do. I used the universal cutting wheel. I didn't have a good way to cut these belts, so just used the universal cutting wheel and cut off just as much as I needed to, so not to affect the length of the belt too much. These belts aren't perfectly in line because they don't all tension up perfectly at the same time, so at some point I'll have to pull it out and put new belts in it probably, but which isn't a big deal. We kind of just want to get it out and use it and make sure we like it before we spend a bunch of money on it. Yeah, just universal cutting wheel. If you guys haven't ever used one of these before, very handy. They're 45 thousandths thick, 7-inch wheel on the grinder. They take a lot of power, but they will literally cut anything. I mean, you can cut wood with them too, but they smoke a lot and they will do it, but we use them a lot for steel and stuff, but very handy. Well, I'll cut these off and put the rivets in. I pulled the belt on through to the bottom because I didn't have enough slack to twist it over like you need to, because you got to start with the rib side up. It slips in here. If you got to do it like that, drive the rivets in like this. You can't. They don't recommend it doing it upside down, so that's why I pulled the belt through the bottom here. Alright, I got the first one done here. I'll video when I do the second one. I think it turned out alright. They send you this thing here to make sure you got the rivets drove in far enough. That wasn't really a problem with me. And then it just leaves. I have to come back out of there. Sharp. Leaves these little spikes when it's done. But anyway, I had to cut 2 of them off, and I've cut this one off also. And they got lines here for certain width belts, you know, where to set it and whatnot. But for this, where the belt was worn and it wasn't even a 6-inch belt, I had to just improvise. I marked you got to offset this just a little so that the belt still tracks straight, so that these things line up. When you can see they're going to be offset a half width, which these are 3/8 of an inch wide. So I found the center of the belt, and half of 3/8 is 3/16, but it still wasn't quite that much, because if you offset it you need to offset it half of 3/16, which is, what is that, 5/32. And you know, doing that on a belt that's worn, that's you get pretty finesse there. So it was somewhere just under 1/8 of an inch is what I offset it to one side. I set it over this way, and then kind of actually smashed the belt out just a little bit when I tightened, or you know, beat them in there. But I'll run this back through the baler, and then on the other half, I'm gonna offset this piece going this way, you know, a little less than 1/8 of an inch, so that it'll, you know, so that the belt tracks straight then. But anyway, you put it in there like that, and then this pin goes through. And I don't think there's anything to hold the pin other than they've dimpled it so that it, you know, because I suppose once it gets pulled on it, there's no way it's ever coming. It's hard enough to get the old ones out, but yeah, so that's that. Well, I'll get set up. The other one's going to be a little more tricky because it's not out. I'm going to have to roll the baler over or something to get it out on the floor. So, alrighty, got this one set up here. Had to take the grinder, and you got to cut these down just a little bit because they say you want 3/4 to 1 inch smooth belt before you put these on. So I got that in there, got the belt squared up. I've offset this one this way, shy 1/8 of an inch, because the other belt I had to go this way. Something else they mentioned, this side of the belt was kind of worn, so I didn't have to do as much, but this side, they just said cut a little taper on it on the trailing edge of the belt, so I did. I suppose just so stuff doesn't hang up on it. Yeah. Then you just take and just drive. Oh, what the heck? I really screwed that one up. Actually, the first set went in nice, and then when I start videoing it, screw it up. Just gonna throw that one away and start over. There we go. Tap that in, and you just do all of them. They're kind of sticking up like that, and then you just. Then I went along. I'll show you here in a minute. I'll just show you once I get all those in. Alright, I got all them driven in. Then here's what I did now. I don't know which end you should start on. It doesn't really say. I guess it did say stake the outside two first, but then from that, didn't say much. Just do this. Get the rivet through the rubber all the way, just to where it's flush. That's what I did. I don't know if that's the right way or not, but I guess won't know until we bale some hay this summer. But I did that, and then once you get all those in, then it just started hitting them all like that with a hammer until they were flat in there. You can tell, you know, when this piece contacts the rubber, you know, you just don't just over smash it, but you want to get them firmly crimped. Well, that's what it looks like. Put it back in there, and I've run it several times now, and seems to be alright. That's how I use the alligator riveting tool. Some of these belts aren't tracking quite right, so I gotta align them and then get the monitor hooked up and try to figure that out, and it'll about be ready for the field then.